Y'all, Peacemaker's still on the run, and who knows what's going to happen next? Is he going to peace out and go to the other universe, or is he going to stay with us? Let's talk about it right after the intro.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Collard Greens and Nerdy Things, your favorite nerd channel. I am your host, King, and that is the greatest co-host and co-hosting game, JC3. And we are back with another episode of Peacemaker. Of course, Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 5. And let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Don't forget, guys, as you're watching this will be spoilers ahead. There will be we're going to talk in depth about everything that happens, and there might be some coarse language or violence discussed. So parental advisory is do that. Watch them children, okay? They can't watch this one. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Go along with us on our journey. We really appreciate everyone who's doing that and who's following us and keeping up day to day. But let's jump right into Peacemaker. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a synopsis of where we are at this point in the story. Right now, Peacemaker is attempting to meet with Hardcore, but he's going to get ambushed by Argus, led by Rick Flag. Despite him not listening to Hardcore's warnings, Chris shows up to fight with her, to talk with her, and ends up getting knocked out by her because she was concerned that he was going to get killed. Later on in the story, Peacemaker then escapes to the next universe, and maybe he stays, maybe he doesn't. But we're going to talk a little bit today about what our first thoughts on that episode and get a little more into detail. So, Jay, why don't you kick us off? What was your first thoughts?
Man, I tell you, my first thoughts on this episode, again, another good solid entry. This episode had to do a lot with confrontation. As you mentioned earlier, Chris goes to meet Amelia to discuss where they stand in their current relationship. He doesn't really hear what he wants, but in a way he does. You know, he really has a connection with her, but she's just not really feeling it due to her past with Rick Flag Jr. So you see how much he wants to be with her, but at the same time he kind of just wants to get that finalization, like, are we or aren't we? Because if we aren't, I'm gonna go over to the best dimension ever. So as you mentioned, she tries to stop him from getting captured by Rick Flag, but he decides to go anyway. And we also get the reveal in this little meetup that Argus agent Sasha is a cyborg. So that's a nice little surprise there. And in order for Peacemaker to not get killed by said cyborg named Sasha, Amelia comes in to knock Chris out to make sure that he doesn't get killed. He gets captured and interrogated by Argus. Speaking of interrogations, we also get our confrontation finally between Rick Flag Sr. and Peacemaker. And man, I'll tell you, no words are needed, but asses are whipped, particularly Peacemakers. That was nuts. We also get confrontation, I would say, between Eagly and the world's foremost eagle hunter, Red Saint Wild. And let me tell you, that confrontation is indeed wild. And we even get a little confrontation between Flurry and Judo Master, because Judo Master gets pissed that Flurry keeps calling him nicknames, and Judo Master ain't taking that. He said he'll rip his penis off like quick, fast, in a hurry. So I think Flurry's going to stop calling him nicknames from now on. But man, this episode was very, very good. It queued things up in a big way leading into these last three episodes. I was very impressed. But what you think? What were your first thoughts?
My first thought was this episode had definitely more meat on the bones than the last one. There had a lot of big story pieces that they were trying to move along. Definitely with Peacemaker and Hardcore, the relationship that Peacemaker really wants with Hardcore. Like you said, she's really damaged at the moment, and she's not sure if she's ready to really be in anything, or doesn't really know where she's at. As much as Peacemaker wants to be with her, she's kind of putting a stop to that. And that was kind of a sad moment when he really wanted to get a serious answer from her of how she felt about him. And for us as the audience, we really realized that that answer was really what was holding him back from leaving this universe. Everything else was a miss. And if Amelia stayed with him or showed him some love, he would have stayed. So super sad kind of in that part, but what a crazy setup. You end up finding out in that moment that Hardcore and Amelia did give him a code word. Where we left off in the last episode, we didn't know if she was setting him up or not. Come to find out, she was trying to give him the heads up to not show up. But of course, Chris needed that answer to whether she loved him or not. And the whole scene was set up with a judo master on the roof with a sniper rifle. Rick Flag Senior is calling the shots from behind. He is pretty much surrounded. I did like this moment where Peacemaker used the people who are walking as shields. So he kept moving right behind every person so that no matter what, Judo Master couldn't get a shot off. I really enjoyed this episode for pushing the story along. In the next section, when we talk about our favorite parts, there's definitely a part with Eagly and Saint Wild that I really want to talk about. That's really cool. So overall, I really like this episode. I really think this was the one that pushed the story along a little further from where we were at to get us to the next, meat and potatoes. But what was your favorite moments, most shocking moments, or something you maybe even didn't like?
Well, I'll say there's nothing about the episode that I didn't like. I liked every moment of this episode. But in regards to favorite moments, favorite scenes, again, I'll be remiss if I didn't mention the confrontation between Rick Flag Senior and Peacemaker. Just we're reminded in this show how we can be funny, and we can joke around, but we can have our dramatic, serious moments, and we can also have our bloody, gory moments. Because I think it's been a while since we've seen, if at all, since we've seen Peacemaker get his ass whooped the way he did by Rick Flag Senior. The one scene in particular that I'm remembering is the knee straight to Peacemaker's face.
It
I
was
had to rewind
brutal.
that a couple times. It was very brutal. I was like, man, I like usually in regular situations, I don't even know if Peacemaker should be breathing right now after that, but that scene was pretty intense. I also have to mention uh, the scene between Eagly and Red Saint Wild. First off, that Red Saint Wild character is hilarious, very funny, love him. But we also get this revelation that Eagly is indeed the most powerful member of the 11th Street Kids, because he doesn't play. Not only does he have powers, but he has friends, lots of friends. And even after Red Saint Wild tries to take him out with his big ass gun, turns out to be a decoy. And Eagly and his friends they start to just shred through Red Saint Wild in a crazy, gory, bloody fashion that I very much enjoyed. Do not play with Eagly and his people. But I would say those are my standout parts. But what about you?
Be honest, I'm gonna kind of just echo you, man. One of the things that really stood out to me was Eagly. Eagly finally got his powers. Now, a couple episodes ago, we were discussing when Saint Wild basically turned his powers on, right? He got this eagle, kind of Native American kind of crest in blood on his kind of forehead, and his powers kind of emanated from him, which was extremely cool. Of course, this is an original character that James Gunn made, not one necessarily from the comics. Funny, hilarious. You don't really know that he's being serious, but he's being 100% serious. And in this episode, like you had mentioned, Eagly and him get into the biggest confrontation. He thinks that it's going to be as simple as shooting a bird down like any other hunt he would be on. But as you mentioned, Eagly now has shown us that he's capable of talking to other birds, specifically in this moment, other eagles, because he is the alpha eagle now. I'm not sure if that spreads to any other avian varieties, but eagerly displays his power. And the same symbol you saw on St. Walker's forehead, or St. Wild's forehead, you see emanate from Eagly. one of my favorite moments. One of my favorite moments. I thought that was a dope ass scene. I was on Twitter and I have the gif of it and like rewatch that scene over and over again because, like you said, now Eagly is the only one in that group who has legitimate powers. He is easily the strongest, and to be honest, he's got just as much character as anybody else in the group. Just does not speak the same language. And I really want to kind of piggyback on what you said. One of my favorite moments in the episode was Rick Flag Sr. and Peacemaker and the interrogation that went down. One, it is super smart for the rest of the team to basically book Peacemaker into the system. So by booking him into the system, Argus can't do things off the books, which means they would have to treat him like any other American citizen and release him, which was a great move by what's his name? I forgot his name.
Economos.
Economos. Yes, thank you. Great move by Economos. He knew it was going to piss everybody off, but at the moment, it was the only way to get Chris out of that situation. And like you had mentioned, we've seen Peacemaker fight. We saw Chris fight himself. And to be honest, Peacemaker 2 was kind of beating his ass, but not
It's
like
true.
this. Not
Not
like
like
this. The knee you mentioned, I probably rewound like 6 times. And the conclusion that I really came to myself is they had to have used a practical dummy for that knee kick because it was so brutal. That kick into the wall, it folds his face. There's no way they got a stunt actor to take that blow. It had to be some kind of doll. It was brutal. Rick Flag Sr. was brutal. And after it was all done, he kind of played it nonchalantly, like it was kind of all part of the plan, which I don't necessarily believe. I don't believe it was part of the plan. I think he was acting on emotion. But I do have another thought. What do you think of the team and how they reacted once they got the letter from Chris and once they knew that he was gonna essentially move himself to the other universe? What were your thoughts in that moment?
In that moment, we all saw it coming, like that he was most likely going to decide to go to this universe. But for to see the way the team reacted, specifically Adrian Chase, aka Vigilante, that kind of hurt. It hurt to see his reaction to it because Peacemaker's his best friend, and he genuinely does believe that, and he means it. So when he reads the letter and he's crying, on Adebayo, it hurts. But I also feel like that was needed for Vigilante's character. He hasn't had really that much to do this season so far, so it was good to see that depth from him. But also just to see Amelia's reaction to it, which was, yeah, screw this. We're going to get our friend. We're going to get this guy. That just shows how close and connected this team really is. Even though they all have their issues, they all have their problems. They, at the end of the day, will band together to go save their friends. So that's where they leave this episode off with, and I'm excited to see how that journey unfolds with them going into the other universe to go get Peacemaker.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar thought when it came to Vigilante. I think he was necessary to kind of give you the emotional weight, not only to kind of deepen his character as a person, but to give you the emotional weight of how the team felt when they read that letter. Every member in the team was kind of noticeably upset. And for Hardcore, it almost seemed like for a second, she kind of regretted saying what she said to him because she knew that saying that was the reason that pushed him over. As we do as the audience, we knew that that's what's pushing him into going to a world where things are perfect and she loves him. However, the team really broke down, and you could really see that in Adrian Chase and Adebayo. And it's kind of nice to see her really console him. But the best part is you're right, they snapped right into action. The whole team said, fuck that. We're going to get our guy. We know that when Peacemaker went through the quantum unfolding door, that Judo Master was on his tail, and Judo Master is following him into the next universe. But now the gang is behind him, and they're all going to go into this new universe to follow Peacemaker and to try to bring him back home to the let's call it DC Universe 1, like it would be in the comics, and we're going to call the other universe Earth X because that's what we think it is. So my last question to you before we get into our final thoughts is, what do you think of Earth X? More and more, I'm starting to feel like this is the universe where the Nazis won and fascism took over in the United States, and it's always been that way. My thought at the end of that show was, Judo Master is chasing Peacemaker, but then also the whole team's going to go in there. So how will the people in Earth X take seeing an Asian martial artist and a black super agent, a secret agent, when they get into that universe? What are your kind of thoughts on what's going to unfold, or next, or predictions for the next episode?
If this Earth is Earth X, like what we're thinking, if it is a white supremacist group, I think that the team is in for a lot of trouble. And then Peacemaker is probably going to have to make the choice whether to save his team, who's going to save him for whatever threat is going to come their way. Possibly that threat might also be Peacemaker's own family, the top trio with his brother and his father going after the 11th Street kids. That would be something to see, and having to see him struggle to for who he's going to help in that whole scenario. I think that's kind of where this might be coming to. Also, in this episode, we saw a kaiju was needed to be taken down in this Earth X. And for the viewers that have seen the most recent Superman movie, we know that that is the same kaiju that was in that movie, but just from a different universe. So that also confirms that Lex Luthor is also in that universe because he's the one that created the kaiju originally. Um, and I think also I read or saw like at the news bulletin that there was more than just that kaiju that was on that Earth X. There were more threats that were there. So I'm wondering if those threats might also take part in these last three episodes and be some trouble. I'm sorry, cause some trouble with the 11th Street kids or the top trio as well. You know, I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the same thing. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be able to do, because if it's a whole white supremacist world, then they're definitely going to be the two that stand out. And I think the harder issue would be Peacemaker's family, brother and father, and all of these other people then kind of become the antagonist in the story. So interesting to see what's next. We'll find out in the next couple days. Let's do our final thoughts. I'm going to give my final thoughts first, and then Jay's going to give his, and he's going to take us on out. So if I was to rate the show on scale 1 to 10, I did like this episode a little better, so I'd probably give it an 8. It had some emotional beats. It had some fun. It had some crazy action and a few answers to the questions. So overall, I'm still loving it. I'm still loving where we're going. I'm excited to see what's next.
Well, I'll have to echo you in regards to grade between 1 to 10. I did like this episode a bit more than the last that you said, so I'll be right there with you and give it an 8 out of 10. As I said before, this season has been a bit of a slow burn, not in a bad way, because we've been, we've been building up our characters and we've been driving the story up in a very good way, and we've queued things up in a big way with this episode with pretty much Peacemaker having made the decision to finally just, go to what he thinks is the best dimension ever. And we've also set things in play between Rick Flag Sr. and Amelia Harcourt. Also, we see, apparently Rick Flag Sr. is a ladies' man in any universe, in any show, just because if we remember in Creature Commandos, Princess Elena really had the hots for him. And now we have a cyborg, after him. Now, by the way, thinking that cyborg Sasha might have, some evil intentions, maybe something that Rick Flag Sr. might not be too hip to. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. But really did enjoy this episode. It's been a fun ride so far. We thank you all for the love and the support. Of course, continue to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Also, please, for the love of God, know how and when to use the word Greek. You may not like what you find out if you use it in certain terminology. So just watch what you say and who you say it to. But other than that, that's all I got here. Stay nerdy, my friends.